Hello, everyone. So I want to first welcome you to the call, and I'm going to pin Jacqueline here for a second. Here we go. All right, so I want to introduce you. So my name, first of all, is Melanie Heffern. I am one of the leaders on Team Silver Lining with Melissa and Jessica Roy and Guylaine Paquette. So I'm one of the senior leaders, and we've got with us here the beautiful Jacqueline Malic, who is with Jessica Roy's team. So we're thrilled to have her joining us from Headingley, Manitoba. Did I say that right?
Yes.
All right. So she is coming to us from Manitoba. A little bit about Jacqueline. She has been a nurse for over 20 years. Primarily in intensive care, and has been for the last while, a full-time clinical nurse educator in long-term care. She joined Norwex 3 years ago with Jessica Roy, promoted to team coordinator just over a year ago. So that is exciting. And a little bit about how this journey even started for her. Jacqueline shared with me that her husband is unwell and has been struggling with his health for the last 5 years and is now unable to work. And I think this would be a whole other call for Jacqueline just to share her own story because it's pretty powerful. But she's got a lot to share already. So this is going to be like really quick Cole's notes. But through his research about chemicals of concerns while he was off work, the discussion started at the dinner table, and a niece invited her to a Norwex party, and next thing you know, in comes Jessica Roy, and the rest is history. So we are thrilled to have Jacqueline here and her story. Like we really are going to have her on at some point just to share her story because it's pretty powerful, and a reminder of the fact that we need to keep sharing these products because you never know whose life you might change. You never know. You never know, right? And of course, she thought it was hocus pocus at first. Of course, we all did, right? Like, what is this? Does it really work? It does. So the reason I invited Jacqueline to come speak to us today is because she was recently at a global leadership summit. And I could tell that she was on fire and so excited about this global leadership summit. And I thought, okay, Jacqueline, like you need to go through your notes and pick out some key principles that you've learned that are like, oh my gosh, people need to hear this. So that's what she did for us. She broke it down into 4 key speakers out of the whole summit that she heard with kind of some of their key ideas. If you do not have a notebook right now and a pen, go grab one. You're going to want one. This is being recorded. It did say it's being recorded, right?
Yes.
I can't see the recording, but it better
Yep.
be. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen because Jacqueline prepared a beautiful slide deck, and as she goes through the points, you're going to want to listen to this again because there's going to be lots of key takeaways here. So I'm going to unpin myself and unpin Jacqueline so that we can just share the screen here and get going. So Jacqueline, can you guys see the screen now?
Yep.
Yes? All right. So without further ado, I pass it on to you, Jacqueline.
Thank you. Thank you so much for asking me. I was actually really stunned, shocked, speechless, and very honored. So let's get started. So I was sitting in church one day and they talked about this leadership summit. And I thought, I take every opportunity I can for education. So I signed up. And the heading was lead right where you are. And I thought, well, that must be a typo. It must be lead where they are. But no, it's lead where we are. And I love that. So I picked 4 speakers on the next slide. Craig Groeschel, Juliet Funk, Coach Nick Sabian, who's now retired, and David Ashcroft. And I was wowed. So let's start with Craig. So when Craig stood up, he was the very first speaker, and he started the summit with, "Great leadership is actually boring." And then he said, "Oh my goodness, I really shouldn't be starting a leadership summit like that, or should I?" And then he led right into, "It's not flashy, it's not fancy, you don't have to be the best. Results are not immediate, and you don't even have to be charismatic." And I remember often Melissa saying to us that she's boring, but consistent. And I love that. It just made me smile because I learned that from Melissa. And with consistency, especially in your VIP, people know what to expect. So he taught us that great leadership is consistent. There's faithfulness and consistency, slow, steady impact, showing up every day. That means even in your VIP, being authentic is huge. Creating small actionable items, treat your customers, your coworkers, your leadership, and your team well. Keep your word, lead with integrity, and do good works, even when nobody's watching. So to touch a little bit on being authentic, people will see right through you if you're not. So find your thing and be consistent with it. So the hidden actions, talked about this. People see the results, not the hidden actions. So that's a bit of a head scratcher at first, but he says what closes the gap between good intentions and real actions are daily consistent tasks or actions. So your daily disciplines, what you choose to do every day, what your quiet daily sacrifices are. And his analogy was the pot on the stove. So you turn your pot on and the water is heating, heating, heating. All you see is water until you see the bubbles. Now you see the heat. You don't see the heating process, but you see the boil. And he says, bring the heat every day. So for me, that means touching my business daily. So what I do is I create and line up for the month what I'm going to do. And I actually post that on the first of every month, my lineup, so people know what to expect. And I pre-schedule my posts. So for instance, Mindset Monday, Tip Tuesday, Why I Live and Love Norwick's Wednesday, All Things Norwick's Thursday, and my Freebie Fridays. Everybody loves my Freebie Fridays. So he talked about having the power isn't a keystone habit. So our focus leads to actions. So he says, have small, consistent, intentional actions that trigger a chain reaction, creating maximum impact. So small habits practiced daily can actually transform not just your life, but your business. So focus on that one habit to create more opportunities. We all have influence. There's no doubt about that. So intention and consistency equals change. And people know what to expect when you're consistent. For instance, my customers all know that Freebie Friday is coming on Friday. And I talk about creating top-notch content based on their questions and their requests for Freebie Friday. So that's boring consistency, but people love it. And we're all influential. We allow our influence to feed, support, help, educate, encourage, and bless others. So his keystone habit that he talked about was flossing, which I'll get to in a minute. So when we consistently practice our keystone habit, our mind is triggered. It says to your mind automatically says, wow, I can do hard things. I'm disciplined. Our focus leads to actions. Small good decisions do matter, but so do small bad decisions. They impact as well. So your leadership is the sum total of all the small decisions you made. So his example was he started flossing every day, and he got himself in such a habit that he started to wind down at the end of the day. He did some meditation, got a good night's sleep, wasn't tired in the morning, got up early. And the one time he kind of overstayed at a function, he rushed home, didn't floss his teeth. He slept in, he rushed to work and got a speeding ticket. And the police officer said to him, do you know why you have this speeding ticket? He goes, yeah, because I forgot to floss my teeth last night. It was priceless. And did you know what I was thinking about and I learned is that power leaders are disciplined. They're focused. They learn and they grow. And when your brain knows that you are disciplined and that you can do hard things, you're empowered and your mindset is improved. So our next little lady is Juliet Funt. She was so influential in her speaking. She teaches precision leadership, and I'm telling you, her speech was just amazing, but I only picked out a few things that she spoke about. So leaders can lose vision because it's too clouded. And so the picture on there is her showing us the SpaceX program. So their original Raptor 1 looked like that. And then they they started to focus more on what they were doing, drill down, more precision, became more innovative. And 3 times later, it was a beautiful work of art. So she said, we truly pay the price when we are juggling too many lines of effort. There's a total lure to pack the plate. It's intoxicating, but it's not productive. Solution is found when we streamline our focus like they did here in the SpaceX program. So cut out, make room for precision and innovation. Removal leads to simplicity, focus, and beauty. So don't overwhelm yourself. Breaking down and streamlining. One thing I learned from this, and I started doing it immediately, is I used to schedule my VIP a month ahead. And I would spend like all of Saturday and part of Sunday, and it was taking away from my family time. And I also found that I wasn't as productive, and I started to be a little bit, they just weren't as good a content or creative. So what I've started doing is only pre-scheduling a week at a time. And I find that it allows for more creativity, precision, and innovation. And it makes scheduling more simple and a lot more effective. She also talked about strategic choices. So see in your mind's eye where you're leading. So this picture there of the Blue Angels, this aviation team, their mission is flying 18 inches apart of speeds up to 700 miles per hour. And so in order for them to get in the zone and get ready, they visualize, they feel their focus, and they actually practice something called chair flying. And so she played a video of them chair flying. They actually talk through the sequences of what they're going to do. And it was beautiful watching them because they were in the zone. There was no distractions. And I think that's key for us as Norwex consultants to visualize. Look in our mind's eye what our plan is, what we want to do. I always set up ahead of time for my events, whether they're my online or when I do vendor events. So I know where everything's going to go. In fact, I've even taken pictures so I know how to quickly set up when I get to the vendor event. And I think what I learned from here is to keep your focus. And one little thing that I always do before I start a live or I go to an event is I listen to music really loud. I dance and do some high power posing. So you're like Superwoman, Superman, you're in the zone, you're ready. Check your presence and how you show up for people. Body language is the key. In nursing, people read your body language more than your words. So my coworkers often say to me, they love it when they see me doing a presentation or doing a huddle at work, because they said my body language, I go into this educator mode, and they said it's so professional. It's not my fun, loving self. And they've also commented that when I show up for a code, I show up in the alpha mode, and they love just standing there and watching. So I feel that's important to us to get our focus on and show up and check our presence before we present for our customers. So the next thing she talked about is a reductive mindset. decreasing the pile and decreasing the load. So we all like to talk about prioritizing, but that really just moves the workload around. And organizing will organize the whole workload, but reduction streamlines. In reduction, it decides what effort is going to be the highest value for the work, and then place your focus on that. Do good ideas, drop good ideas to make room for great ones. She says this is the hardest thing a leader will ever do in their business or in their company, is the reductive mindset. But she says it's a very powerful practice and it does make a difference. So how do you do that? She says, first, you've got to generate a plan. So be intentional with your choices of what you're going to downsize to. Separate the things that you can control from the things that you cannot control. Evaluate and review and conduct a diagnostic and analysis. And eliminate what's not productive. So reclaim your creativity, conquer busyness, and do your best work. And then she ended it with go supersonic. And she could truly say that because she actually got to fly with those Blue Angels and she went supersonic. And she was so proud that she never whooped her cookies. So that was pretty awesome. But I was thinking about this evaluating. How can we evaluate our work? Sure, we can have feedback from one another. But did you guys know that in the back of your VIP groups, there's something called insights, and it's a great place to review the posts and what generates the most engagement. So I did a little screenshot there of insights in your VIP group. It'll talk to you about your most popular days, the most popular times. I have 99 VIPs. I think 1, 2, 3 are 4 are consultants, the rest are customers. And my top posts, I scrolled through all of them and they were all my lives. And doesn't Melissa always tell us, you've got to go live? It makes a huge difference. So that it's right there. So if you guys go into your back of your VIP, you might already know that, but I just discovered that and I thought that was brilliant. So you can revisit what you think's working and then find out what's really working. So the next gentleman that spoke to us, Coach Nick Saban, he was a college pro coach, and he was outstanding. He's retired now, but he had a great story to share, and he talked a lot about discipline, standards, and the process. So discipline and focus. He led with, your story is still being written. And I got to tell you, that's so true. You and I are meant to be here because our story is still being written. So routine, he talked about routine. It's imperative. However, so is flexibility. It's necessary so we can adapt and grow. He joked about that he always eats oatmeal and 17 blueberries every day. So, but for me, that's not necessarily the routine I'm going for. So focus on what you want your outcome to be, what you want your goal to be. Do you want to be a team coordinator? Do you want to be a jacket leader? Do you want 2 bookings a month? How about a new team member? You figure out what it is your goal is, and then you put in a process on how you're going to reach that goal. Because it's not just going to happen overnight. You have to do the work. So once you decide, look at the process and what is required to meet that goal. Define the discipline required and take that action every day. And we've already spoken about that, about those simple tasks every day, doing them. So discipline and focus. He says, where's your focus? Be a champion. He says it's like climbing a ladder. Each rung represents a small step forward. Daily efforts, the discipline, the sacrifice nobody sees, like the water that's boiling. If you try and leap to the top, you'll lose your footing. Be positive. He says the team was practicing in 90-degree temperatures and nobody was complaining because they were just feeling so blessed to be practicing with the team. Be responsible for your own self-determination. Have a passion, overcome adversity, and bring a work ethic and mental toughness. So talking about self-determination, let your passion override adversity. Don't let the bumps in the road or the situations beat you down. Do what you can when you can. Mental toughness. I remember taking that intensive care course. I wanted so desperately to be a critical care nurse, but learning the ABGs and the EKGs was a nightmare, but I didn't give up. And if I would have, that would have been a missed opportunity for growth. I just kept at it and I did a little bit each day. I learned and I grew. So many opportunities that Norwix has for us to learn and grow, and they're always free. Like for instance, last night we had the monthly grow call with the RSMs. It was outstanding. The mega parties, our team parties, Melissa's training and all her systems. These are the kind of things that will help us grow. Pick what fits. So you can't do everything, obviously, but pick what fits you and what is authentic to you. And didn't they just advertise join for free? That's brilliant. Let's take advantage of that. And then be the best version of you. Embrace failure because, hey, it happens, right? Learn and grow from our errors. Teach from our experiences. Failure isn't the end. It's the step that moves you forward. Refusing to try is what gets you stuck right where you are. And I'm so thankful for all of the struggles that I've had trying to learn Facebook and all the different things. I just kept going. So keep your focus sharp. Keep climbing. Now, this next statement doesn't really apply to us, but I'm sharing it anyways. Keep climbing, never rest, because be best your best. He talked about someone is always trying to climb past you, so keep doing your best. I do agree we always need to best our best, but the beautiful thing about Norwix is we're climbing together. We're helping one another up the ladder. Nobody is trying to outbest one another. We're here together to work together. And that is such a beautiful thing. And that is a rare thing. You hardly see that in any business. And even in our direct sales, but it's a beautiful thing, and take advantage of that. Be accountable. How you take praise and constructive criticism was where growth comes. And in fact, they spoke about that last night. Focus on what you can control. Ignore the external noise because, hey, there's always going to be. Focus one play at a time. Set a good example and serve others right where you are. Don't waste your energy fretting on the negative. This limits your growth and it hinders your mindset. Put your energy into what's within your control. And hey, people, go get your ask on. Isn't that what Debbie Bolton said to us? So the last fellow I chose to talk about is David Ashcroft. This was huge for me, overcoming self-doubt, because that's something I really struggle with. And in the next slide, he says, self-doubt is actually normal, but it's leadership's greatest enemy. So comparison fuels self-doubt, and that robs us of opportunities even before we try. So when we compare ourselves to one another, we shrink our own leadership potential. Comparison is a thief of courage, and great leadership begins when we can silence the self-doubt and step forward. Great leadership isn't about being someone else. It's about being an advantage to others exactly as you are. God has given us each a unique role, and when we embrace it, we bless others and honor Him. Self-doubt and leadership. So steadfast leadership brings a calm when chaos surrounds. Storms happen, but they don't last. But the strength that we build in them does. Quitting in the middle of a storm forfeits the waiting on the other side. So keep moving forward even when others doubt you. He talked about when he was in taking a course because he wanted to grow his church. I think he said he had about 150 people in his church at the time, and it was grow your church over 500. So he got up and he gave his presentation on how he was going to grow his church. And the instructor said to him, yeah, that's not going to work. You're never going to amount to anything. You're never going to grow your church. Well, this gentleman, oh my goodness, he has a mega church. I think he has more than one. And he is an outstanding leader. So your response to others' negativity is paramount to success and growth. If he would have taken that, who he was, like the instructor, if he would have taken that to heart, he wouldn't have gone anywhere. He would have just said, okay. But he didn't, because he had a passion. So quitting forfeits growth. I felt like a poser, to be quite honest, when I was taking the ICU course. I thought, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not cut out for this. But I faked it until I became it. And I kept at it. And the same thing with Norwix. My very first Norwix party, my launch party, was a multi-host. And I had everything set up, everything was running. It was a Monday to Sunday party. My live was on Thursday, and it was Tuesday morning. And one of the hosts said to me in a message, Jacqueline, I want my own party. Oh, okay. When would you like to reschedule? Oh, no, I want it this week. And I want the live on the same day. Well, absolutely, I said. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I just barely figured out Facebook. How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? Like, take a deep breath. You're going to load a new party. So I had 2 parties running simultaneously. And then it came to Thursday evenings live. How do I do it? Well, I don't know. I'm sure there's a way to split it. But I said to my husband, we're digging deep here, honey. You're going to run the iPad and I'm going to run the phone, and we're going to run this 2 parties simultaneously. And guess what? I did it, and it was so successful, and it skyrocketed my mindset. It empowered me, and it gave me the courage to take the next step. And that was to book another party. And so I think that's key, is for us to not focus on the negative, but focus on the positive. Do what we can when we can. So last week, Glenn and I went on a fishing trip because he felt well enough to get away for a couple days. And as I was sitting in the front of the boat, another boat went by and left a little bit of a wake, and that's the view from my boat. And I was thinking about the ripple effect. And I thought every small action we take, whether it's a kind word, a helpful gesture, or even choosing to live more mindfully, it creates ripples far beyond what we can see. Just like a stone dropped in the water or a wake from another boat, the ripples touch shores we may never reach ourselves. One smile can brighten a stranger's day. One eco-friendly choice can inspire a family to live more sustainably. One act of courage can motivate one of our team members to be brave. Never underestimate the power of your influence. You might just be the spark that changes someone else's world. So a few of the reflections and my gratitude from this presentation. Just great leadership isn't about being the best, but it is about being consistent. And our leaders teach us that regularly, and I'm grateful to you all for doing that. Consistency closes the gap between good intentions and real actions. We develop a keystone habit, small, steady practice that triggers a ripple effect in every area of our life and our leadership in our business. Your leadership and your life is the sum total of small daily decisions. Never quit in the middle of the storm because, hey, they're coming. But just keep on. Focus on 1 or 2 top priorities. Keep your vision clear. Know what your goals are and what your process is to get there. Focus on your process. Define daily disciplines and actions. Remember, you don't need to be anyone else. You just have to be the best possible version of you. Keep showing up. Play your part. Bless others with the unique role that God has given you. I can't hear you, Mel.
Well, let me stop sharing my screen here. So I want to take a moment to thank Jacqueline for taking the time, because I know this took some time for her to go through all of her notes from just taking in so much information from that leadership summit, and being willing to do this PowerPoint for us with all of these key things, so much key stuff. And the key words that are sticking in my mind are consistency, simplify, discipline, focus, right? We could add so much more, but Jacqueline, thank you so much, and all of your applications direct to the business is fantastic. Melissa, would you like to add anything?
Sure. So I've been taking lots of notes. So I'm just going to read a few of my notes. Jacqueline, that was phenomenal.
Thank you.
I have a little more to add just because I've known you for so long. And so I love that you started off with being consistent, because as most of you know, that's kind of my motto is consistency, and that I'm just boringly consistent, and it's really the truth. Like, my personality in life is not boring, but my business is boring. So I think that's a huge takeaway, and I love that I heard somebody else say it. Um, so that's just reaffirms everything that I believe. And I want to say that I remember your first party. I remember that. I remember that, like, fully remember that. I remember that Jessica let me know, and then you messaged me. And I think that it's really cool that, like, all these little things that we've gone through as a team, that, like, that you feel comfortable enough messaging and getting advice, and then just that we're such a supportive team. So I remember that. I also remember you trying to learn Facebook. Like, I fully remember it like it was yesterday. I don't know why, but I remember that. And then I also noticed that you never give up, which is a huge deal for all of us, because this is not an easy business. This is a hustle all the time to try to think of new ideas. But if we consistently put those systems in place, and I'm going to re-listen to this because I love hearing that you looked at the insights so that you knew kind of where you had success. I do agree that if you schedule things a month out, then it loses its excitement, and um, a month is too far. But you learned that by not giving up. So that's pretty amazing. And then I just have 2 more things that I wrote down. Um, when I first started, I started really, really, really strong. Like, I came out of the gate really strong. And my mom and dad have always been super supportive. And my dad was a big businessman in his life, like in his work life. And I would call him, because it was all home parties originally. And I would call him, or I'd call my mom on the way there and talk to my mom on the way to the party. Sometimes I'd travel over 2 hours to go to a party. And so we'd chat on the way there. But then my dad was always awake at the end, and we would chat on the way home. And I remember this, I will never forget it. He said, "Melissa, this will not continue like this. Like, you can't keep this, this level of sales." And I remember thinking, "You're wrong. Like, I will." And, like, I could have given up, and he is super supportive. So, like, he wasn't being, but he wanted to, like, just warn me, like, "This probably won't continue." And when you said to me, or when you said, I feel like you were talking to me. When you said, like, I could have given up at this time, or people could have given up, there's always times that we can give up. But if we choose not to, we just have no idea what can happen with this business, which is so amazing. And I also say one last thing. You can never underestimate the power of your influence, what you just said at the end, because the kindness that you have shown by doing this, but also I have literally never had somebody, I feel like when you offered to pick me up from the airport in Winnipeg, I was shocked. You chose to like just randomly say to me, "Can I pick you up from the airport?" You saved me all kinds of money. You saved me trying to figure out how to get to the hotel from the airport. I'll never ever forget that. But you probably didn't think that was a big deal. But for me, I remember saying to Todd, "I can't believe she's gonna pick me up from," like, it makes me feel teary. I remember saying to Todd, like, "I can't believe she's just gonna go out of her way to pick me up. She like, that's the city, it's busy," and you waited for me, and you waited for Megan or not Megan, who was I with? I was with
Yeah,
I
you
don't
were.
know who I was. No,
Oh,
I was with Andrea. I was with
Andrea.
Andrea. And like, it was one of the kindest things I've ever experienced, which sounds weird because I've had so many kind things happen to me in life, but that was like so selfless to go out of your way. I know that you have a lot to take care of in your home. And anyway, like, I'll never forget that. So when you said never underestimate the power of your influence, it was just really kind. So anyway, thank you, Jacqueline. This was really wonderful.
Thank you. And did you guys hear Debbie yesterday? Her Wednesday chat. She says, "We are not just created to make a living. We are created to make a difference." And that's what we do, one home at a time, isn't it? One team member at a time.
It totally is. All right, that seems like a perfect way to end it. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop recording. If anybody's got any questions or whatever, I usually like to, after we stop recording, stay on for a bit for anybody who's got any questions or wants to chat a little bit. I'm sure Jacqueline might stay for a minute or so. So we will wrap it up there. Thank you to those of you who are here live and those of you catching the replay, and we'll catch you next month for another growth call.